Once hailed as symbols of the Royal Navy's revival, these two colossal vessels now lie rusting in Portsmouth harbor. Have they truly become the costly ornaments foretold by Zhang Zhaozhong, squandering the nation's resources to build two aircraft carriers, only to end up as dockside decorations? This is not merely a military analyst's skepticism, but the harsh reality confronting the Royal Navy in recent years. In 2019, when Chinese military expert Zhang Zhaozhong bluntly declared on a program that Britain's dual-carrier strategy would be a strategic liability, he faced widespread criticism and ridicule overseas. Yet time has proven the accuracy of his prediction. Within mere years, these maritime behemoths that once symbolized the ambitions of the empire on which the sun never set have indeed become a laughingstock in global military circles. To understand this lamentable history, we must trace it back to the UK government's dual-carrier initiative launched in 2007. With a £4 billion budget, Britain ambitiously planned to build the Queen Elizabeth and Prince of Wales, aiming to restore naval prowess. As the birthplace of the world's first aircraft carrier, HMS Centaur, this venerable naval power confidently unveiled technologically advanced designs featuring dual-island superstructures and full electric propulsion systems. The ships were slated to carry U.S. F-35B fighter jets, aiming to recapture past glory. Yet the path from dream to reality proved fraught with obstacles. The 2008 global financial crisis abruptly strained government funds, forcing a 2-year delay in construction. Meanwhile, the budget spiraled out of control, like a runaway horse. By the time both carriers entered service in 2017 and 2019, construction costs had soared to £6.4 billion, including subsequent maintenance. The total cost exceeded $8 billion, nearly a significant portion of Britain's defense budget at the time. More alarmingly, to fund these money-guzzling behemoths, the Royal Navy had to slash other programs, even cutting several frigates. This misguided prioritization sowed the seeds for future troubles. As Zhang Zhaozhong foresaw, Britain's economy couldn't sustain these financial monsters, and post-Brexit austerity only tightened the noose. The carrier's performance since commissioning has fallen far short of expectations. From the Queen Elizabeth to the Prince of Wales, malfunctions and accidents became the norm rather than the exception. Shortly after commissioning, the Queen Elizabeth suffered a pipe rupture that flooded the engine room with 200 tons of seawater, nearly drowning 3 sailors. Later, a propeller shaft seal failure caused a 200-liter per hour leak, forcing the ship to operate at reduced speed. In February 2024, it was slated to participate in NATO's Resolute Defender exercise, but withdrew due to a damaged coupling, leaving Britain humiliated before its NATO allies. Even more absurd was the shower scandal. Exposed in May 2025, crew members went months without hot water due to a faulty heating system. This ridiculous situation was widely reported by the media, becoming an international laughingstock. The fate of HMS Prince of Wales proved even more tumultuous. In May and October 2020, it suffered 2 major flooding incidents that completely submerged its cables, necessitating a full rewiring. In August 2022, shortly after departing Portsmouth harbor, the ship's starboard propeller shaft fractured, causing a 33-ton component to plunge into the sea. The repairs cost £25 million and delayed operations for 9 months. During its 2024 deployment to the Indo-Pacific, the propeller shaft malfunctioned again. While docked in Singapore for inspection, large sections of hull paint were found peeling off, necessitating emergency touch-ups. Statistics show that from commissioning until May 2023, the Prince of Wales spent 411 days undergoing repairs in shipyards during its 1,251 days of active service, with only 267 days actually at sea. Such operational records are undeniably ironic for a carrier costing billions of pounds. These frequent failures are not coincidental but stem from design choices and structural issues like chronic crew shortages. To cut costs, the UK opted for gas turbine and all-electric propulsion systems instead of nuclear power, resulting in recurring failures of the power modules. The dual-island layout, intended to optimize space, actually led to inefficient deck operations, with sortie rates only a quarter of those achieved by U.S. Nimitz-class carriers. Meanwhile, personnel shortages remain equally severe. By 2025, the Royal Navy's total strength stood at 32,150 personnel, with a deficit exceeding 2,000 personnel and a 22.1% decline in new recruit intake. Even basic requirements like swimming tests were scrapped to meet staffing quotas. Experienced workers are leaving the Navy en masse to join high-speed rail construction, causing aircraft carrier maintenance delays and prolonging the idle time of vessels in port. In terms of operational capability, The two carriers resemble incomplete shells. Each carrier is designed to carry 40 to 50 F-35B fighter jets, but by October 2025, the UK had only delivered 41 aircraft, which must be shared between the Navy and Air Force. This means each carrier can only actually deploy 10 to 24 F-35Bs, far below the design standard. During a 2021 patrol in the South China Sea, Britain had to borrow aircraft from the US Marine Corps to meet its deployment numbers. For NATO exercises in 2024, it relied on Dutch frigates for escort. When the HMS Prince of Wales deployed to the Indo-Pacific in 2025, its task force included a Norwegian tanker and a US destroyer, a combination mocked by media as a carpool deployment. More embarrassingly, one F-35B made an emergency landing in India due to weather and hydraulic failures, stranding it for 3 weeks. A 3-person UK repair team failed to fix it, prompting plans to send a 30-person team. Authorities even considered dismantling the aircraft and transporting it via C-17 transport aircraft to prevent technical leaks. Another F-35B made an emergency landing in Japan, requiring maintenance personnel to fly parts back to the carrier via helicopter. These incidents exposed the vulnerability of the British carrier strike group during distant deployments and its excessive reliance on allies. Financial pressure may be the greatest challenge facing the Royal Navy. The full life cycle cost of an aircraft carrier is estimated to be 7 times its construction price, with fuel costs alone reaching £30 million per deployment. With defense spending at just 2% of GDP and national economic growth at only 0.8%, Britain struggles to bear such expenses. To maintain great power prestige, the UK government stubbornly maintains a 2-carrier fleet, sacrificing overall naval combat capability, reducing frigates from 26 to 13 and allowing its submarine fleet to age severely. In 2024, the UK Ministry of Defence attempted to sell HMS Prince of Wales for £2 billion to India and Australia. However, India rejected it outright due to high maintenance costs, while Australia stated its existing amphibious assault ships were sufficient. Once a national symbol, it now stands as an unwanted liability. In 2025, internal discussions within the UK Ministry of Defence proposed mothballing one carrier to cut costs, a development aligning perfectly with Zhang Zhaozhong's prediction that one carrier might need to be sold or decommissioned within 5 years. More concerning is the survival capability of these 2 carriers in modern warfare. Military analysts note that against hypersonic missiles like China's DF-17, these slow-moving giants become easy floating targets. This explains why British carriers are consistently the first to be sunk in military simulations. Media outlets bluntly label them expensive sculptures, highlighting their awkward status as symbols outweighing practical military value. Looking at the development of Britain's dual-carrier strategy, we see not only the failure of a military project, but also a classic case of a nation's misguided strategic positioning. The reason Zhang Zhaozhong's prediction proved so accurate lies in his deep understanding of the gap between Britain's national strength and its strategic ambitions. The era of the British Empire has long passed. Today, Britain ranks as the world's 6th largest economy, grappling with strained military budgets and a rusting industrial base, yet still clinging to the old habit of maintaining a global military presence. Aircraft carriers, meant to symbolize national influence, have instead become a burden dragging down the entire defense system. Looking back from 2025, the fate of Britain's 2 carriers is already clear. They may remain moored in Portsmouth Harbour for years, or be mothballed or scrapped during budget cuts. But this chapter, a £55 billion investment that earned only global ridicule, will forever serve as a cautionary tale in military strategy textbooks. In an era dominated by drones and hypersonic missiles, the value of traditional large aircraft carriers is being re-evaluated. The lesson Britain learned at exorbitant cost warns the world: military development must be commensurate with national capabilities. Any strategic ambition detached from national strength ultimately amounts to a wasteful endeavor. As Zhang Zhaozhong noted, with the 5-year deadline now passed, Britain indeed faces a difficult choice, one whose outcome will determine the fate of the Royal Navy for decades to come.